Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 44 of Jordan and Drew the Sports School, a live edition of the podcast from the Skyberg residence. Fresh off of Roncalli and Brillion, their first meeting of the year. Boy, was it something else. We'll talk all about the Brillion screw job. But before we do, we are going to talk about the one and only shout out of the week. That's right, guys. We are getting right into it. This is a jam-packed, absolutely loaded edition of the podcast. I'm Jordon Lawrenz here with the one and only Drew Skyberg. I think you had something you wanted to say.
I did, Jordan. We heard you mention something about a brilliant screw job. I would like to respectfully disagree, and we'll get into that later in the episode, but I'm doing well. We have a really big episode for you guys coming your way. A lot of basketball went on this week, and we got to talk about it. Of course, other sports as well, but let's get right into it. Now with the shout out of the week, Jordan, take it away.
We are going hockey heavy this week. That's right. It's really not hockey heavy. There's like two hockey segments we're going to be talking about. But just the other day, Minnesota Wild on ESPN. Yes, they were on the one and only flagship network of the ESPN family, and they defeated the Boston Bruins, ending a 5-game losing streak, 3-2. The final score, mostly thanks in part to Matthew Boldy, the 20-year-old rookie. Went to Boston College, played his first ever NHL game in Boston. Talk about a little homecoming. We retweeted the tweet of his parents' reaction to him scoring his first ever NHL goal. This was something else. You had to see it to believe it. In 14 minutes of ice time, Boldy gets himself a goal. He had 4 shots, so not bad at all. Kirill Kaprizov also with a huge power play goal early on. The Wild, they were down 5-3 at one point. Then they came back and fired on all cylinders, end up winning this game, get back on the winning track. Can't wait to see what it's in store for this team. Matthew Boldy, he is our shout out of the week. And Drew, before we move on, I do have to say the Winter Classic did not go as planned. A 6-4 loss for the Wild. It was one of the coldest games ever. It was -8 degrees. By the time that they started, it was like -20 wind chills. Wild were down 6-2 after the second period. The color commentator said they got embarrassed on ESPN the other day. I don't agree with that necessarily, but they end up losing that game. And you, sir, you're getting in the hockey spirit. You joined a fantasy hockey team. Let's go.
You bet I did, Jordan. Of course, I'm not going to put any money. It's a free league. It wouldn't make sense. I'm trying to learn hockey. So just started in a simple free head-to-head points league here, a 12-team league. Did a little quick draft. ESPN does a great job with their fantasy hockey. Highly recommended for fantasy hockey. I don't know what else you'd play on. I'll be honest. I don't know fantasy hockey. So all I know is I got the first overall pick. And Connor McDavid, I know some names, and that was certainly one who stood out. I got him on my team. Yes, right now he is on the COVID list, but our league, it starts – it's weekly matchups, and like I said, head-to-head points, and we start next Monday, I believe. So I will hopefully have him back, and he'll be ready to accumulate some points for my team. So once in a while, I'll update on how I'm doing on a week-to-week basis. Very, very brief. You know, we're not big hockey fans. I mean, we are big hockey fans, but
we don't have a big hockey fan base.
This is true. So we'll keep it brief. I assure you that. But congrats to this guy. I mean, shout out of the week, rightfully so.
Absolutely. The rookie killing it. Now it is time to move on to the stats of the week. We got a few of them here this week and a couple good ones, especially the one Drew sent me. Shaka Smart led Marquette to their largest margin of victory against a ranked opponent in school history. You want to talk about Marquette now real quick? You want to get it out of the way or you want to save it?
We should save it about the amount of length it will be.
They just came off another huge win on Friday night. Other than Shaka Smart, let's talk about the Patriots. Football going to be a focus here in this one. A few little talking points. No one has more targets this season without a drop than Hunter Henry. Henry is 1 target away from 70. Hasn't dropped the ball once. So a very efficient Hunter Henry at the tight end position. This one we were talking about on the car ride to Brillion. For the first time in 407 games, Russell Westbrook didn't turn the ball over. So finally, Russ able to not turn over the ball. That was a stat last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. But good for him getting in the stat of the week for something good, actually, this time around. And 19-year-old Josh Giddey? Josh Giddey? I would go Josh Giddey for a more formal. But Josh Giddey, he's now the youngest player in NBA history with a triple-double. So good for him, man.
Yeah, watching Josh Giddey play, I mean, yeah, he had the triple double, but he's been really, exceeding expectations. Just watching the guy, he came from Europe. I mean, playing overseas and stuff. You didn't really know what you were gonna get out of him, and the Thunder, they pick him up, and they've been getting triple doubles out of him. He's so smart with the ball. Tyler Kolek, if I had to compare him, Marquette guard right now, who I will be talking about later in the episode. I mean, both of those guys compare really well in terms of just like vision and just like the way they both score. But overall, I mean, the way Giddey, he's able to get rebounds too. He's been getting like 13, 14, 15 rebounds, like in that range. Last 3 or 4 games, he's been averaging that. And it's probably like, I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", and him and Gilgeous-Alexander have been playing really well together. And that's a dangerous backcourt you got brewing right now in OKC. But yeah, I mean, rightfully so, a stat of the week indeed.
Indeed, and that rounds it off. It is now time for On This Day, January 10th, the date today. On this day, 1945, no one is elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I didn't even know the Hall of Fame went that far back for baseball, but no one got in it. On this day in 1945, let's go 8 years later, on this day 1953, we saw the third NFL Pro Bowl, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum hosted, as the National Conference beat the American Conference by 20 points. Wasn't even that close. 27-7. Don Dahl of the Lions was the MVP. Very interesting. Good for the Lions, I guess. I'm sure they got walloped by Aaron Rodgers yesterday. On this day, 1967, the 17th NBA All-Star game. Oh, you're going to be at that game, aren't you?
I will be at that game in Detroit. Hopefully we'll have some good stuff to talk about, but I'm really looking forward to it.
That is going to be okay. So Aaron Rodgers is going to play the first half is my guess, and then he's not going to play anymore. I know he wants to play, but
that's what we're thinking. We actually talk about this scenario on the Journey to a Million, which was released last Friday. So if you want to hear about it, I mean, granted the game's already happened, but go take a listen. We talk about guys, Alan Lazard hopefully had a big game yesterday, because we might see Adams and those other guys sit out the last few drives. But I mean, that's in the past right now.
So we're going to move on here. On this day, 1967, the 17th NBA All-Star game at the Cow Palace in San Fran, as the West beats the East 135-120. Rick Barry, the MVP of that game. On this day in 1982, the AFC Championship game at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. This is the so-called Freezer Bowl, as the Bengals beat the Chargers 27-7. Do you know why that's the Freezer Bowl?
It was probably really cold.
Well, I walked into that one. So on this day, 1985, 3 years later, Lenny Wilkens became the first coach in 1,000 NBA games when his Supersonics beat the Warriors 89-86. So very, very close there. Let's go 5 more years later. On this day, 1990, the NCAA approves random drug testing for college football players. They still do this?
I'm going to guess they do.
I think so.
Yeah, they probably do. NCAA, they like rules. They like rules. So yeah, they probably do.
They probably do. That's for sure. And on the final one, on this day in 2003, the NBA announces Charlotte, North Carolina is awarded an NBA expansion franchise that'll be known as the Bobcats. They started playing 04-05 and then became the Hornets in the 2014-2015 season. So that rounds things out there for On This Day. Guys, we have a brand new sponsor. Our new sponsor is coming into the podcast. We're going to take our break now, and that sponsor will debut right about now.
If you have a business, you need a website. What's the best way to get a website up and running, you ask? Choose a website hosting company that makes it simple, like Pair Networks. Pair has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pair makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building tools and features, including simple drag and drop page design. They have guaranteed US-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it. That's right, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pair Networks, you receive 1 free month of web hosting. See for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free. Visit pair.com/free to get your first month of website hosting for free by using our promo code QUICKSTART. That's pair, PAIR.com/free, FREE, using that promo code QUICKSTART, QUICKSTART, to get started today.
Special thank you to Pair Networks. That's right. Be sure to use that promo code QUICKSTART. You will get yourself that beautiful discount over on the website, pair.com/free. Promo code QUICKSTART. I know I just said it in the ad, but we're going to say it one more time, give them a shout out. We only got 2 weeks with them, so we're going to make the most of it. That is for sure. But other than that, Drew, let's talk a little football real quick because I want to get to our bet of the week. It all starts. Obviously, our bet last week was with Roncalli, Brillion. We'll talk about that when we get there. But the Antonio Brown situation, they talked about it. Drew, Zach, Jared, they talked all about it on Journey to a Million. Be sure to listen there. But we wanted to talk about the Aaron Rodgers situation. No, we're not going to talk about his toe. What we're going to talk about is that one man on the MVP committee who said that he will not be voting for Aaron Rodgers, and he had his mind made up at the start of the season already. He will not be voting for him because Aaron Rodgers is the biggest jerk in the league. And if I'm not mistaken, this guy is actually from Chicago, or was Aaron joking when he said that?
He is from Chicago, and it's it's a joke. I can't believe this was said, but the guy who actually made this comment, it was Hugh Arkush. And after this basically came out, he was getting canceled. Let's say he was forced to release a statement, and he said he admits he made a big mistake and all that good stuff. I mean, the stuff the media wants to hear, and so it's just certainly not a good look on this guy. And I still can't believe this was said. Certainly needs to be consideration to take this guy off the voting. I mean, we talked about in any sport, like MLB, for example, we talked about how some voters, they shouldn't be voting in the Hall of Fame.
In the we were right here in this basement when we cherry picked and went through some and said, who are you voting for?
You bet we were. We saw Raciel Iglesias get Cy Young votes, which, I mean, are you kidding me? Do you just do it just be different? It is unbelievable. And we now see the NFL didn't even leave a comment when they were asked about this. So this topic regarding, Rodgers and the MVP voting. So I don't even know what to say. I was shocked. I mean, talk about stupidity. This is a prime example right here at its finest.
Aaron Rodgers said it best too. I mean, he called the guy a bum. He said he doesn't deserve to vote. And then he said, the only reason he's not voting for me is because I'm not vaccinated, and he's playing that card. And then he said it should be the most vaccinated player if they go that route. So I just thought that was a really funny, good response from Aaron Rodgers. But the reason we're talking about football, big week in the NFL for some teams. Obviously, some have already clinched. They don't need it. But our bet of the week this week, it's happening on Sunday Night Football, right? It's the Raiders against the Chargers, winning in. Which team is going to win and make the playoffs? So all the scenarios, Chargers, they get in on a win or a tie. So Chargers have it pretty simple. Raiders need a little bit more. If they win, they're in. Otherwise, they need a tie with the Colts loss. Colts aren't losing to the Jaguars. And then if neither of those happen and they lose, the Raiders lose, they would need the Colts and Steelers to lose. So just completely forget about those last two. The Colts are not losing to the Jaguars. And now here's our question, Drew. Our bet of the week, Chargers or Raiders, who are you picking this week?
So I'm gonna kind of deflect that question for a second, because we talked about on the Journey to the Million, the scenario, that potential where they would just kneel it out at the end. I was all for it. I actually took the Jaguars in the game, and my actually pick them for the game. I chose tie for this game, Jordan.
Really?
And you know why I did? Listen to this. Okay, it might be a little crazy, I know. Urban Meyer gone, playing for a new interim head coach. Chip on your shoulder. Last time Colts have won in Jacksonville, Jordan. They lost last year in Jacksonville. It might even be 5 years. I'm serious. It might be. It might be that long. We talked about it on the Journey to a Million, but it has been an extremely long amount of time since that's happened, since the Colts have won in Jacksonville. So why not? I go Jacksonville just to be different, and I want to tie. I want them to kneel it out the whole game. I think it'd be funny. All right, Jordan, I'll hand it back to you, and you can give your prediction.
That is very wild. I mean, our bet, though, is on Sunday Night Football, Chargers, Raiders. So you're talking about this scenario. You're saying a tie between the Chargers and Raiders?
I'd like a good tie. I said that. I'm gonna be consistent. Let's go tie.
Okay. I don't. Okay, we'll go with the tie. I'm going Chargers. I think that'll be the route that this happens, but it's unreal. I mean, you can pick your tie, right? You never know. You never know what can happen at the end of the day. So we'll have to see. I mean, Jackson, when is it? 2014?
So yeah, when I was talking seasons, it's been since 2014. Colts haven't won a game in Jacksonville since the 2014 season. Boom. That's how this happens.
Okay, so there you go. There we have it. I guess I understand now. I understand what you're saying, and we're gonna run with it. So there we go. We do have to say our long bet. We both said the Jacksonville Jaguars would win over 1.5 games this year. That they did not. So that long bet, we did end up losing. But I can tell you now, after our most recent bet, we are both 2-2. That's right. Pull up the EWC because we are in the one and only Roncalli and Brillion. And let's do it, right? Let's absolutely talk about this game that we attended. Still no stats up. Do you remember Robert's story? Did Luke Pouts have 17, 18?
Pouts finished with 19 on the game, and then we saw Grady Geiger, a Brillion, really show up. He had 17. He was Brilliant's leading scorer, actually. It was not Jeremy Lawrenz. And I don't. We'll kind of break it down game by game. It was a great game. Going into it, I actually gave a prediction. I said 54-50. I was pretty darn close. 56-49. Brilliant gets the dub. I was like almost spot on. I was flexing my prediction, but I'll hand it over to Jordan so he can explain why he called it what he did at the start.
And I don't want to offend any Brillion fans at all because Brillion did deserve to win this game. Multiple reasons. I will just go out and say that right out. They deserved to win. However, Roncalli was put in an awful situation due to some of the officiating in this game. Jeremy Lawrenz, sir, I love you. You're great, right? You're the second best player in the conference. I said it. But at the end of the day, you traveled 3 times in the first half and it didn't get called once. I mean, these were clear as day walks. And they did not get called. Everyone knew. I understand we were in the Roncalli parents section, basically. We were right in the middle, right? So there was yelling everywhere. But we were right in the middle, and we could see that. And then Luke Pouts is getting hacked on the inside. Multiple times, Pouts was getting hacked by Lawrenz. Lawrenz had probably 5 blocks in this game, 2 or 3 on Pouts, because there were no calls. So, I mean, that you just have to live with. But at the end of the day, Roncalli's supporting cast. This is what we talked about last week. If they show up, if they do well, this team is going to win this game no matter how Luke Pouts does. He's going to get his points. He did. He led the team, hit some beautiful mid-range shots, but I don't want to say he was the team's demise in the second half of the second half, but in the final 5 minutes, Pouts was throwing up some shots that didn't fall, and this team was leaving empty in their drives. I believe this game was 49-40. Brilliant up, if I'm not mistaken. Roncalli went on a 5-point swing, and then they couldn't do anything from there. It was kind of just stuck at that mark. The officials did not help in any of the game. They did not help Roncalli out. By the time they made the calls in the final 2 minutes, too little, too late. Jeremy Lawrenz on fire from the free throw line, made clutch shots down the stretch, put this game on ice. If Lawrenz didn't make those free throws, we'd have a different ball game. But Brillion gets the job done, 56-49. You tip your cap. You say, great. Good job paying the officials, and you move on.
Okay, maybe not the paying the officials part, Jordan. Let's be real here.
That was the first thing I said to Robert, so I just threw it in there.
I know. But yeah, you talk about I mean, I agree. Fouls were obviously a crucial part of this game. I think it was I'll go out and crazy. I think it was like 22-7 fouls. I mean, Roncalli had probably it was at least double digits. It could have been around 15 in terms of the fouls.
It was in double bonus each half, so
yeah, and they were with a lot of time on. But talk about a turning point. When that 5-point swing you mentioned, 49-45, we see Brady Yanda, we see him foul out. That I mean, I nudged you. I was like, dude, this is momentum right here. And yeah, Brilliant. They really were able to regroup, and Roncalli to bring in some guys who don't see a lot of minutes. I mean, when you play your starters almost all the game for a lot of games, some of these bench guys don't see minutes, Jordan. And
Sam Schultz got some huge minutes late in the game. He doesn't play a whole lot. It's not like he's bad. He was doing the best he could, but I was very shocked to see him in.
I was too. And when you run up the score and have your starters in a lot, these guys don't get a lot of minutes, Jordan. I'll be honest.
I don't like that claim.
I'll be honest, but looking at it, you can't fault Luke Pouts in this game, Jordan. You really can't.
He tried to put the team on his back, which he knew he had to do.
Yeah, and even Brilliant, they were at the point double teaming. His supporting cast was not there, and Pouts left and right would make the right decision. He'd pass out. He'd find the right guy. He always found the right guy. It's something like his basketball IQ is through the roof. I mean, I've talked about a guy, Luke Pouts, maybe not the most athletic, but certainly it's there. I mean, he's got the talent, and he was making his pull-up free throw line jumpers that he those are classic makes for him. I don't 3 points really weren't the 3-point shot was not falling for him. Really, the whole Roncalli team.
I can't wait to see the stats as a team. My guess is probably 5 for 30, 5 for 25. It was bad.
Yeah, and I mean the guys. You could say Fisher, Stengel, and Yonda. They played okay, but
Yonda had maybe one of the worst games of the year.
Well, yeah, but Witzak played, I think, even worse for his standards. Witzak was not there. It really wasn't. That was certainly, a game to forget for him. And they went back. They played a back-to-back, so they played Saturday with that. And, a lot of schedule. And Pout's got a lot of minutes, too. I mean, rightfully so. You got to play the man. And they did. And now we'll transition a little on about Brillion's team here. Let's talk about how they performed. Lawrenz, you know what? He played okay, and certainly it didn't. I mean, he made those clutch shots last minute, but he was also like Pouts. He'd make the right decision, make the right pass, played really well defensively, had some key blocks at the end you mentioned. I know you're a little unhappy with, maybe some extra contact, but
I mean, when Pouts is on the ground,
I don't know, but Brillion, but yeah, Grady Geiger stepped up. Let's be honest. Roncalli didn't have a guy to defend. Luke Pouts can only defend one person in the post down low, and he certainly made his presence felt just like how Lawrence did down low. But when Geiger and Lawrence are at the same time, that was certainly when Roncalli had some troubles, is what I noticed. And when Roncalli was able to get some momentum back, when Geiger was only in or Lawrence was only in, because we saw Pouch was bullying them, and I nudged you. I was like, they gotta bring Geiger in. And you know what they did?
He was right there waiting.
You bet he was. And some other guys made some big threes off the bench. Bennett Olson made a couple threes. And we saw their classic starters, Broad and Holly. They did their work. They got the job done. Banky as well. Played some good defense on Pouts during the game, I noticed. But I think at the end of the day, I'll admit it. I think if Roncalli's supporting cast at least showed up, I mean, this could be a completely different game. Maybe at least overtime. I think seeing one possession game, but threes weren't falling, and Brillion got the dub at home. And yeah, like I said, I predicted a 54-50 Brillion win. We almost got it, and I predicted a jet hanger. I think we see Roncalli take care of Brillion, and that's just how it is. I think this is a series where these teams are as good as it gets. It's the cream of the crop of the EWC, they say. And, these teams are both good enough where we're going to see a split, I think, and see a share of the EWC title. I don't know what you do for Conference Player of the Year then. That might be, a round table kind of discussion with Robert Chimick and us too. I think it'd be a lot of fun, but you want to talk about some other EWC scores here, Jordan?
Let's go right to it. So last thing I was going to say is kudos to Brillion, right? Absolutely phenomenal job getting the win. Well-deserved victory at their home court at Brillion High School. Kiel beats Chilton 60-40 in the EWC action. We do not have a final from Falls and TR, sadly. That probably would have been a good game. And then Valders beats New Holstein 76-69, and those are our EWC scores.
Tabletop is going back to Valders High School. Let's go, everyone. That's some exciting stuff. That's what we care about. That Brillion Roncalli game was great, but the tabletop returns to Valders High School. Doesn't get any better than that.
No, it absolutely doesn't. I lost the most. Find me the most so we can get back as we go to Manitowoc Lincoln High School basketball. There it is. So I was at Ashwaubenon High School on Tuesday. I talked all about it. I didn't talk about it. I was on the air about it as Ashwaubenon beat the Ships 46-42. And, it was another loss for the Ships. That's really all that needed to be said there. And a very low scoring affair, held in it. And, the other thing I was going to say, Roncalli's best shot of the night was the circus shot at the buzzer at the end of the first half. That tied it up at 30. That put all the momentum back at it. It made me think of it here where Braden Kennedy did some huge three-pointers. And now we were driving home. We heard Damon Ryan back on the air, so good. And it was a little fuzzy. But we heard the Ships won 46-45, just a 1-point win against a Green Bay Southwest team. Only has 2 wins. Make it 3 wins on the year. They must have won on Tuesday. 3 wins on the year. This was shocking. Yes, they beat South 77-63. This was shocking to me that the Ships only won by 1 point against Green Bay Southwest. And it seemed like a game that came down to the very end. So that's what's even more mind-blowing. But Ships, I'll be there, Sheboygan North on Tuesday. And then, Drew, we got to promote this a little bit. Coming up on Thursday, next week, Thursday, coming up, the 14th, I believe it is. 13th? The 13th. We have a big time. Yes, the 13th, a big time game. Jordan and Drew, the sports crew, back on the air, baby. I'll be doing the play-by-play. Drew will be with me doing a little color action, get some stats in there. Roncalli boys host Kiel. Can't wait.
I'm looking forward to it. You know, Jordan, I want to wear a banana when I go. Bring the banana costume back. I'm out of high school, can't wear it to games. That'd be weird, being in college. But announcing, I think I could give a little leeway. Jordan, I have a banana polo, and you know what I'm going to wear? I'm announcing it here on the podcast. If you come, you will see me in my banana polo, all dressed up, all dapper, ready to do some stats and some good color commentary for the best play-by-play man in the area, Jordon Lawrenz.
That's a great plug right there. Love to hear it. So that ends our high school talk. We'll be shouting it out all week coming up on next Thursday. Get those Marquette stats up. Get those Wisconsin Badger stats up. We're moving up to the world of college basketball. Real quick, we're going to talk Badgers because they had a few big-time wins recently, and obviously the big one was the Purdue win. 37 points from Johnny Davis. It was 74-69 the final. I don't know how they did it, but a 37 and 14 point game. Well, 14 boards, 37 points, 14 boards for Johnny Davis as he played 38 minutes, leading the Badgers to this absolutely massive win. And then their most recent win against Iowa as well. Two huge wins for this Badger program. And it's just mind blowing that this team is 10-2 right now. And they are beating the, as you like to say, cream of the crop, an 87-78 win over Iowa.
Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, I mean, now actually with the Iowa win too, we see them at 12-2. So they're actually, they are exceeding expectations right now for this team. You see the dirtiest player in the Big Ten, Brad Davison. He's been playing okay. He logged 18 points, 7 rebounds against Iowa, so he played great, but he had, I believe, 15 against Purdue, so no complaints there. But you know what, as much as I am not a fan of the Wisconsin Badger basketball team, you gotta give props to a guy like Johnny Davis. We're watching right now, one of the top players in the country play basketball, and he's from lacrosse too, so I mean, if you look at that, it's Wisconsin native. Certainly he's got the talent. We could totally see him going into the draft next year. If you look at prospects, he certainly has the game, to elevate. Certainly a raw prospect, though, but definitely has the game to translate in the NBA. 10 for 18 shooting, 3 for 7. He always makes the right decision. I mean, you talk about another guy, 26, 9, and 5. Just plays a great basketball game. Just very smart. Basketball's his thing. And he was also a top football player in high school, too. Fun fact. I believe Jordan was the receiver then, or vice versa, but Jordan Davis, his brother, who's also on the team, doesn't get a lot of minutes though, but certainly a guy, to keep your eye out for. But one thing, some tough losses. He's known, criticizing his big men and calling him soft or whatever, I believe was kind of what the report, and even just
wanted to light a fire under him. Good for him.
Really did. And, maybe you can call that a leadership. I don't know what to think of it. Mixed about it. Don't want to hold a lot against him, but just want to,
just got to put it out there.
Just got to put it out there. But yeah, you're right. Because I mean, 2 of the top 3 scorers in the nation were going off. Keegan Murray also for Iowa finished with 27 points, 10 for 16 from the field. Another great player, 0 assists. He, I talk about a guy like Keegan Murray. You're really, he's really just like a pure scorer. Is kind of how he's played this year, and kind of showed that in the Iowa-Wisconsin game too. But this is definitely a good Iowa team as well. Even without, a guy like Luka Garza, they lost. But this is certainly, this was a big statement win, I'd say, for the Badgers at the Kohl Center. And the Purdue win too. I mean, where do you think they move up on Monday, on today?
Top 15?
Yeah, I'd put them, I'd move them up. I believe they're 23 now. I'm
14.
I could move them to 9 spots. I'd go 14, 13 maybe. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But
no way they're top 10.
No. Oh, that'd be a stretch. Yeah, but I guess from here, Jordan, you want to kind of transition to the other team in Wisconsin that is going to be at least receiving votes.
Marquette, baby. You talk about spotlight wins. Woo-wee! Shaka, Smart. Pull up these numbers, baby. This team it's something else right now.
It is. Yeah, you're spot on. The way they've played this week, this is the best week of Marquette basketball against Big East opponents we've ever seen.
Ever.
Like I'm serious. And what started Tuesday, number 16 Providence comes to town. Shaka Smart, his team, he lights a fire under them is kind of how I'd explain it. They dominated this game. It wasn't even close. They were up 10 from the start, and then maybe it was like 6-point game then with like 15 minutes left in the first half, whatever. And then they just ballooned it out to 15, 20 plus, hovered around it the whole game. A guy like Justin Lewis, he had 23 points, his career high. And yeah, they won this game by 32 points. Like, it wasn't even close. Nate Watson of Providence, arguably the top big man in the Big East Conference. He couldn't do anything. You know why? A guy, Kirk Queth. Not many people have heard of before. I believe he's an Oklahoma transfer. And, that's someone, a lot of people, like I said, no idea about the 6'10 Queth. 7 blocks in just 19 minutes. He's in 15 games, 47 shots he's rejected, leads the Big East in blocks. He is one of the best interior defenders. Talk about, losing Theo John. How do you replace him? You get someone better. Kirk Queth's the man. It's a lot of fun. This Marquette team is. Tyler Kolek, one of the best pick and roll guards in the country. You give him a screen man, and then you give him a roller. I mean, that's kind of how he's thrived in that point guard role. Not scoring wise, his shooting's been tough, but we've seen him kind of step it up there. But he had a career high 9 assists on Tuesday in that dominant win over Providence. But Jordan, you want to talk about this win they had last Friday night? Talk about it.
I mean, not even close. 92-64. We were shocked to see this when we were sitting at Brillion. They put up 92 points, and Justin Lewis didn't even have to do a whole lot. I mean, he was sitting kind of pretty with just 10 points in 21 minutes. Certainly seemed like they were resting him a little bit. Our boy Kerr, 11 rebounds in 21 minutes. Just talked about him. 3 of 3 from the field. Oliver Maxence Prosper, 9 of 11 shooting. Led the way with 22 points. This was a dominant win. Not start to finish. It was 45-37 at the half, so still kind of close, but then a 20-point differential in the second half puts the Golden Eagles on top, and this team is here to stay.
You bet they are, Jordan. We didn't really talk about how much they moved up after that big Providence win. They moved up 25 spots in the KenPom, 26 spots in the net ratings. These are the computer ratings. Many people use in bracketology, so these are big things. And, after that big win Tuesday, they had them in the last 4 in. Now they're for sure in after these games. But, yeah, Tyler Kolek, 13.7 assists. I'm talking about a guy, I can't emphasize enough. He just makes the right decision every play. Like, rare slip-ups for a guy like him. Just watching, even on the break, he made some great plays to Justin Lewis in transition, give him some dunks. Which he only had 10 points, like you said, Jordan. They were really able to rest him. But, the 2 guys who I'm like most impressed with, other than Queth, a guy like Oso Ighodaro, and then also Oliver Maxence Prosper. These guys, their game, they're scorers. And Ighodaro was big, especially in the Creighton game that we saw New Year's Day. There are a lot of dunks, just getting – it all goes back to Kolek. I mean, he gets these guys open. He really does. And they're able to maximize their ability with that, especially Prosper. He was really, 9 for 11 shooting, 2 for 2 from 3. They just have a lot of scoring options, even though this is a young Marquette team. And certainly when you get a guy like David Joplin going, a young guy from, I don't know what high school in Wisconsin, but I can't remember.
One of the few that we have here.
One of them. Okay, yeah. And, Daryl Morcell, a guy who I thought would be more involved in scoring, really has not been as of late, but Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year coming in, of course, and he did his job tonight. He really did. He was on Aminu Mohammed, 5 for 17 he shot from the field, and yeah, like I said, that was Morcell's main assignment. So, looking at it, they held that Georgetown team in check, and 10-6 they are now, and now you got some Big East Conference wins under your belt. And you got to keep growing from there.
Oh, yeah. It's not like the schedule gets any easier, that's for sure. So we'll have to see how they fare eventually. But now our last bit of basketball talk is about the one and only Milwaukee Bucks. You were at the game Wednesday. Was that Wednesday when they played the Raptors, end up blowing it? I don't know how they lost the game. I'm sure you'll talk about it. But the big news is after the game, bye boogie. Demarcus Cousins is gone. A move that certainly shocked a few people, to say the least. He put up big numbers in that game. He had like 15 points, like 12 rebounds. Not 8 steals, but wasn't it something high like that? 6 steals or something? What was it?
He had a couple steals. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more. But yeah, I mean, Boogie gone. This is wild.
It really is, Jordan. Going into it right after the game, we saw Twitter kind of go off. Cousins, they waived him. And, you can get into it. There's a lot of reasons. John Horst described it, Bucks GM, a strategic move. So, Twitter was going crazy. People were upset. People were mad. And rightfully so. 17 games for the Bucks. He averaged 9.6 rebounds a game. Kind of the bench. He started some games too. But you got to look at it. I'll make his case. I'll make the Horst case a little bit. He was good on offense and the glass, which you could say when Giannis is playing, those are strengths. They're good. They're a great scoring team. And they're rough on defense. And when you lose a guy like Brook Lopez, you need defense. So, and Cousins, we know he's older. Later into his career now. Defense is not a strong suit of his. He's such still a talented offensive player. He'll get picked up right away. I mean, there's no way he's not. And then let's look financially though, Jordan. The Bucks salary cap situation. The deadline was actually would have been Friday, so a few days ago, to guarantee a full contract. So that was and they would have guaranteed for the rest of the year. And that was just a decision. They didn't want to do it. John Horst wanted roster flexibility. And the reason that this might be a good thing here, Jordan, the trade deadline. And with that, if there's some guy he's looking at, that's February 10th.
Get a little more cap room.
So we could certainly see, what I'm thinking. I'll just throw this out here, something wild.
Minnesota?
Maybe it might be that wild here. Dante DiVincenzo, he's a guy you gotta like. Guy who wants money. I'm just throwing out a rumor here.
He just came back.
Yeah, and I bet Horst is hoping he plays well. I mean, we saw him actually get another ankle MCL or whatever kind of sprain it was.
Oh boy.
But I'm saying, what I think is going to be a potential thing here. You trade that man. You might trade him. You trade something else, but he obviously wants that roster flexibility for a reason. I mean, I know they signed some of these 10-day contracts to these guys. We look at, let's think of some. Luke Cornett is a guy they picked up, and Langston Galloway was a guy we saw, and then we saw another one. It was Jeff Doughton. I think it was Doughton, and all guards is the interesting thing. Luke Cornett being the 7'1", 7'2" big man, kind of a difference there, but. The Bucks, they're going to guarantee the contract to Wesley Matthews. I think that's a given here, Jordan. I mean, do you agree?
I don't see why not. You just got him.
Yeah, good homecoming for him. Going to Madison Memorial, Marquette playing for the Bucks then already, and then coming back. Good stuff. And I think I'm not going to say this was the right move, but certainly a guy like Semi Ojeleye could have been on his way out. Rodney Hood could have been on his way out. I think choosing Cousins over those guys is certainly a questionable decision, and I don't know if I can really back that up. I can't make that argument, but I can give the context of why maybe Cousins, and I don't know what you think, Jordan, but let's hear it.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, the trade deadline is certainly the most intriguing point we have, but if we're looking at numbers, Cousins, he's not playing on these games, but he's certainly making the most of his minutes. He was very, very efficient from what we're seeing, and I still don't get it, and I don't know if I ever will.
I'll throw a name out right now. Jonas Valenciunis of the New Orleans Pelicans. Certainly a guy who would kind of fit. Just wanted to make sure. Entered COVID protocols a week ago, but I just, his name, comes up. A guy who could score, guy who can play some defense, standing 7 foot tall. Certainly a guy who you might want. And, New Orleans is not competing this year. They certainly aren't. This would be definitely a trade piece. They take some of the salary. You give them a young guy like DiVincenzo. Just all speculation, but just want to throw out, I think a guy of that caliber will be coming to Milwaukee at the deadline because, I think this team has what it takes to repeat. They do. We know that. And we just losing Lopez is a big loss, and you got to replace him in some way. and they can't bank on Bobby Portis playing that lockdown D. I mean, that's just not going to work. So hopefully we see something like this work out.
I mean, we also want playoff Bobby back, where he's coming off the bench and giving you those electric minutes instead of what he's doing now. But either way, I can't wait to see what this team does. I'm very intrigued. If they get a big name, awesome. If not, well, then I guess we just have to question it a little more. But is there anything else we have to talk about on the podcast this week, or is it time for a little trivia?
I think it's time for trivia.
All right. Well, we've got two categories this week. They're both on the phone. I'm going to have to hide them, but I'm going to let you pick heads or tails. So heads is going to be the first category I have here. Tails is going to be the second category.
Tails never fails. And I want to say one more thing, Jordan. At the Bucks game Wednesday, at halftime, they did Bucks All-Star Trivia. 2,000 people entered. I was one of the 2,000. And the place I took, Jordan, 62nd out of 2,000. I almost top five, or I think top people when, or the first person won a $500 gift card. I don't know what else people won, or to the pro shop. I was 2 or 3 questions off. I was 1 year off of when the Bucks had their first All-Star or something. I was 1 year off, so I could have been even closer. And I messed up who the first All-Star was. I knew it was John McLaughlin. I said Kareem, and that was stupid of me. I knew better. But yeah, that was my rant.
Well, at the end of the day, you got trivia here, and that's all that really matters. You're 24 of 35 so far in this season, and you picked Tails, and Tails is defunct sports leagues. This one is going to be interesting, and I feel like I say that every time, but it's all in good fun. Debuting in 2019, the Alliance of American Football lasted how many seasons?
AAF.
Yep.
In 2019?
Yep.
1.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even last a full season. They only got 8 of their 10 weeks in. They lasted less than 1 season. I remember watching a little of that. A 1-of-1 start. All right. Next question. True or false? In baseball, the Midwest League was replaced by the High A Central League.
False.
Incorrect. It is true. The Midwest League ran from 1947 to 2020, and then it got changed. So it is a very, very recent change. This is the Tim Rattlers League. That is what they play in. So 1 of 2 start. What was the most recent men's basketball league to fold? So it was the most recent one that didn't end up working. The All-American Professional Basketball League, the National Rookie League, or the Continental Basketball Association. I can re-go over them if you want.
The most recent one to fail?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll go the All-American one because that's like the AABA, right?
Yeah, that one folded in 2005.
These are that recent?
Yes. The National Rookie League folded in 2002. All right. So you just got one to beat. But the Continental Basketball Association folded in 2009. So 4 years off of there. I don't know any of these leagues.
I've never heard. I was guessing we're talking like the ABA, merger in like the 50s and 60s.
No. This is wild. That's why I like to pick these, because these are interesting. Next question. How many different incarnations of the American Football League were there? So there's a league called the American Football League. How many times did that appear? You get a wild guess before I give you options.
3.
All right. That is incorrect, but it might make your options a little easier, because option 1 is 2, option 2 is 4, or option 3 is 5.
So it's either 2, 4, or 5.
Correct. It's not 3.
I know it was twice, so I can go twice, or I can say 4. Let's go twice. We'll say 2.
It was 4. It was actually 4. This is wild. 1926, it started. Then it came back for one season, 1936 to 1937. Then it came back for a season, 1940 to 1941. And then it stayed from 1960 until 1969. So it stayed a while after that. I knew this would be tough, but our final question, true or false? There was a professional soccer league called the XSL, the Extreme Soccer League.
False.
It's true. There was indeed one from 2008 to 2009. The Milwaukee Wave were actually a part of it. So I found that to be intriguing. So a 1 of 5 puts you at 25 of 40, which isn't the end of the world, because you can still certainly get to that 30 mark where you've been before. And this was tough.
talk about college mascots being one of the tougher ones. This is right up there, maybe past it. I thought I might have some knowledge. I was thinking of some former leagues.
I didn't pick the big time.
Maybe like baseball. Thinking of like some of the leagues that folded. But talk about tough. This was something else. Different beast is how I describe it.
Maybe we'll have a part 2 next season. How about that? How does that sound? No, that was wild. That was tough. That was a very bad way to end the episode. But 1 of 5, nothing we can do. The Extreme Soccer League is how we're going to round it off. It was a thing. It happened. The Milwaukee Wave were in it. I don't know. I've heard of them, but I didn't know that was a thing. So that's all we got for episode 44 of the podcast, live recording. Another one is come and gone. Drew, I hope you have fun at the Packer game. I shouldn't even say hopefully the Packers win. They'll win. There's no doubt about it. And we saw a great game. I'm not going to even call it the Brillion screw job anymore. I'm over it. Just like that, I'm over it. Brillion gets the win. And like I said, coming into the game, I just wanted a good game. That's all I really wanted at the end of the day, and we got one, to say the very least. You just wish the officiating was a little better, and it could have been more even throughout. So that's all we got. Shout yourself out.
Hey, you guys know the drill. Drew Skyberg on all social media platforms. DREW-SKYBERG.
And don't forget, I didn't even plug any of our socials to start. We have our pod page now, our website. You can leave us a review straight from that website. Don't forget to do that. That's in the link everywhere. In our Instagram, Jordan Drew _sports crew, Facebook, Jordan Drew the Sports Crew, Twitter, JD Sports Pod, Jordan Drew the Sports Crew, on YouTube as well. Hopefully you all got your sweatshirts. You like your sweatshirts? We'll hopefully have an update on the white one soon. Hopefully you like your hats. If you ended up being one of the 3 people to win a hat, thank you all so much for the support. Thank you for listening to another edition of Jordan and Drew the Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.